How's it going, guys? Theonor here. Originally today, I was going to upload a video concerning Rings of Power lore and Isildur and a whole bunch of stuff that they goofed up on in the television show. And I was thinking about it as I was listening to the recording back, and I was thinking, I was like, man, I've gone over this stuff so much, and I'm to me, I'm sounding like a broken record because of all of the stuff that I've already covered on X. And being my first video, I don't really want to retread on anything, that I've already covered extensively. And you got season 3 on the horizon. So what I'm probably gonna end up doing is postponing any and all Rings of Power coverage of that awful show until season 3, at least a trailer for season 3 comes out, because when it comes to season 1 and 2, I've already beaten that horse to death, and I've beaten it more. Like like I said, I feel like a broken record. But while I was contemplating all this post from the Middle Earth X account popped up, talking about Ian McKellen and how the legendary actor is going to reprise his two most iconic roles. Now, I don't give a damn about Avengers Doomsday. I really don't care about superhero movies. I think the superhero genre is dying, if not already dead. Sure, Doomsday will probably make a shit zillion dollars. Um, but that's going to be largely due to a normie audience and a lot of characters coming back in reprise, or actors coming back rather, and reprising their old roles, and people wanting to see them in their old roles again. I don't care about any of that. It's going to be a one-off. And besides, it's not a genre that I'm particularly invested in, if I'm being quite honest. So I just don't really care about him reprising his role as Magneto. I mean, that's nice and all, but what we're here to talk about is him reprising his role as Gandalf. And I know exactly why they're doing this. The people who are making Hunt for Gollum are doing this. So, first of all, there shouldn't even be a Hunt for Gollum movie. Okay, the Hunt for Gollum really isn't that big of a tale. They Aragorn goes, captures Gollum, brings him to Mirkwood, and then he eventually escapes, and then starts tracking the Fellowship as they enter Moria. That's the story. That's the story. There's really not much more to it than that, other than, I suppose, Gollum being interrogated by Gandalf and the elves, I suppose. But that's literally it. There really isn't much. They're gonna have to make up a ton of shit to make this a feature length film. And my understanding is they want to make two films. They want there to be two Hunt for Gollum movies. Peter Jackson, please stop, okay? It was bad enough you turned The Hobbit into a trilogy when it should have at most been two movies. Don't turn the hunt and eventual escape of Gollum into two films. That would be so fundamentally stupid. But but the reason why they're bringing back Ian McKellen is key jangling. That's all it is. It's nostalgia bait. They there is so much with adaptations post Jackson trilogy, Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, where they try and feed off of the success of those films. The Hobbit movies did it. Rings of Power did it. Whether it's design or whether it's bringing characters back to reprise their roles, so on and so forth. They are trying to milk that cash cow. But the thing of it is, there's a couple things. Number one, everybody with half a brain can see exactly what this is about. Okay. And the whole reprise, if you go and look in the comments of this post, a lot of people are saying the same thing they said about Sarah Connor when they brought her back for Terminator. Um Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. These old actors, okay, God bless them, they had their time in the sun. Let them age gracefully. Let their roles age gracefully. don't wheel them out for the sake of nostalgia, for them not to be able to put out as impactful of a performance as they could have 10, 20, 30 years ago, okay? And a whole ton of the people in the comments are saying exactly that. They're saying, please stop. Just stop. Just let him ride off into the sunset, please. Can we recast? I mean, hell, Charles Dance is out there. He's about 7 or 8 years younger than Sir Ian McKellen. I think Charles Dance could play a relatively decent Gandalf if you're looking for a classically trained British actor to do it. And the other thing the other thing that bothers me about this is that the Jackson trilogy, can we all be honest about it for a moment? And I am going to be making videos on this in the long term, and they're going to be long videos because it's going to take me a lot of time to explain this. But the Jackson trilogy, great films. Okay, I'm not going to knock them on the filmmaking. Adaptation wise, they are, or they get rather less than 10% of the canon correct, okay? That is an objective fact, okay? Now, granted, greater than 1% is still better than what Rings of Power did. Somehow, Rings of Power managed to do so bad, like it's in the negative integers. But can we stop putting the Jackson films on this pedestal of the ideal adaptation? They aren't. They aren't. There is roughly, I've done the math on this, in the first 5 minutes of Fellowship of the Ring, the prologue with Galadriel doing her monologue, and then you see Isildur, Elendil, etc., Sauron losing the ring. There's roughly an error, and an inaccuracy to canon every 45 seconds. So, can we please just put a timeout on the adaptations until we figure this shit out? Okay? Because the Jackson trilogy, for as good of movies as they were, they couldn't get Tolkien down. The Hobbit, stop it. Rings of Power, laughable. Ride of the Rohirrim, again, laughable. Game adaptations. The Gollum game was hilariously bad. Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War took so many liberties with the canon. It was really insane. The only thing that's great about that game is the fact that they had the Nemesis system. It's just, and then you bring back these old actors, and it's, if they had any interest in creating something that was fresh, that was canonically respectful, that, people could get excited for, they would not be bringing back Ian McKellen. They would have enough faith in their own script, their own writing, and their own knowledge of the source material to where they wouldn't need to wheel out the old actors from 25 years ago or 20 years ago, however long it's been now, about 25 years, 20, 23, 24, to reprise their roles in the hopes that those actors will be able to put butts in the movie theater seats. This needs to stop, and particularly needs to stop. I want them to end all Tolkien adaptations. Okay, nobody can do it right. Nobody can. And before all of the dissenters descend into my comments section and be like, "Well, you can't expect 100% accuracy in an adaptation." Blah, 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 blah. The Jackson trilogy is the greatest thing ever, and how dare you? How dare you? Oh, you're saying bad things about the greatest trilogy ever made. Stop it. I expect a adaptation to get greater than 10% of the canon right. I'm not asking for 100%. Is 30%? Can we do 30%, please? Is 30% a relatively reasonable number? Is it? Can we get 30% canonical accuracy and not bring back old actors and not steal visuals from previous films for the sole purpose of trying to milk those cash cows for the inevitable flop that is going to happen next year with Hunt for Gollum? Can we please do that? I'm asking because I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go see this movie because I have made it kind of a passion of mine to review this stuff and to compare it to material, book novels, a whole mythology that I love, and see what they got right and what they got wrong. And I'm gonna do the same thing that happened when Rings of Power aired and when War for the Rohirrim came out. I'm gonna leave that theater pissed off, and I'm gonna go on X and I'm gonna go on YouTube and I'm gonna start just making content about how bad it is because it is going to be bad. It is going to be terrible because they're gonna have to make a bunch of shit up for 2 reasons. First reason, there isn't enough meat within the story for the hunt for Gollum to create 2-hour, 3-hour long film or 2 films, let alone 2 films. Secondly, because it's modern day and Hollywood is so invested in creating a modern audience, there's gonna be a whole bunch of woke shit in it. Everybody knows there's gonna be a whole bunch of woke shit in it. You're probably gonna get Warrior Arwen again, okay? They're probably gonna excuse me, they're probably going to do completely away with Glorfindel once again, and they're gonna make Aragorn look weak again. They're gonna make him a reluctant hero again, and it's gonna be a disaster. The Hunt for Gollum. Hot take. Hunt for Gollum isn't gonna make its money back. It's not gonna make its money back. Tolkien fans have been let down too many fucking times, so you lost that audience. The normies don't give a shit anymore. The only people that really care about Lord of the Rings as it pertains to adaptations are the people that go and watch the re-releases of the Jackson trilogy when they pop out every 5 years, every 2 years, whatever. Nobody's gonna care about Hunt for Gollum. They're not, okay? In the Tolkien adaptation is dead. And you can argue what killed it. The Hobbit trilogy certainly didn't help. Rings of Power is the likely culprit. You know, some people will say Simon Tolkien, but this stuff, this retreading and the old actor, just stop. Stop it, please, Hollywood. I am begging you. Leave Tolkien's work alone. You don't know how to handle it. And a lot of people, including myself, assume that you have no interest in adapting it properly because you have your own agenda in completely twisting and warping the narrative of the books to suit your own social and political agendas. And it's just enough. It's just everybody wants the stories that were in the books, and you clearly do not have the capability or do not have the desire to tell those stories in a respectful and at least somewhat accurate way. Because I'll be perfectly honest with you, and this might be me tooting my own horn a little bit here. Okay. I, a person with an X account with just under 7,000 beautiful, wonderful followers, has done more to reinvigorate interest in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien than a multi-billion-dollar corporation called Amazon. That's how low the bar has sunk for adaptations. Keep that in mind. When you have people like myself, Gary Nerdrotic, Little Platoon to a lesser extent. I know he likes the source material as well. You have all these different content creators, Girl Next Gondor, Yoiston, the list goes on and on. My boy Middle Earth Mixer. We don't have billions of dollars to spend on actors and sets and all the other shit. And yet, somehow, some way, just because we actually have a love of these stories, we've managed to invigorate people and encourage people to go and explore the world of Tolkien outside of poorly done adaptations. Think about that for a second. Just let that sink into your mind. Okay? That is that is on the part of Hollywood pathetic. That's pathetic. And for all the people who are in the Rings of Power fandom, all 12 of them were like, "Oh, well, I started reading the books again," because you've never read the books in your life. Stop it. Stop it. It's painfully obvious when you guys try and talk about Tolkien that you've never ever actually read the source material. You've only ever skimmed the wiki or skimmed Tolkien Gateway or skimmed Encyclopedia of Arda, and then you took like the little footnotes and ran with your own narrative about a particular character or a particular subject or a particular event. Okay? We all know you haven't read it. It's been proven time and time and time and time and time and time again. I do not believe for a second that anybody has actually garnered a vested interest in reading Tolkien's work by watching Rings of Power. Period. It has not happened. And you're not going to get any different of a result from Hunt for Gollum and its key jangling by bringing back old actors and making up 75% of the story to appease the wokies. It's not going to happen. And that's where the crux of my content lies is I want people to get invested. I want people to enjoy this beautiful world that one man created, okay? This isn't a situation where you had George Lucas create 3 films and then a plethora of different authors came out and wrote a whole bunch of different books to expand the universe. Tolkien by himself created this entire universe. And oh, by the way, if you want to argue Christopher Tolkien assisted with that posthumously, that's fine. That's fine. You can make that argument. But everything that Christopher Tolkien did was based on the notes that his father left him. So it's really J.R.R. Tolkien through his son expanding the world and his son just taking different things, different notes that his father left him, not really doing anything. Truly being a steward of the work, not trying to inject his own politics or his own ideas. He simply pieced everything together based on the notes that his father had left him. And I care about this world a great deal. I've loved this world since 2001. 2000 actually. I was 10 years no, 2001. I was 10 years old. And I have a deep respect for Tolkien, and I want to encourage people to go and enjoy his work. And when I see poorly done adaptations, like for instance, what is the first thought that is going to come across somebody's mind when they watch Rings of Power and they have no knowledge of the source material? They're going to say, "Well, that was shit, and if the books are anything like that, I probably don't want to fucking read them." And they're going to close the lid on that, and they are never going to go and actually enjoy beautiful stories and stories with an abundance of well-written, complex characters and heroes and villain and just this gorgeous, gorgeous tapestry that Tolkien created. They're not gonna do it, and the same is true with Hunt for Gollum. The Hunt for Gollum is not gonna generate any interest in the books whatsoever, and it's gonna continue to be up to myself and other content creators on X and YouTube and otherwise who are going to have to keep that fire lit, who are going to have to keep that interest in Tolkien lit, because if people aren't exposed to actual good storytelling, actual good world building, actual battles between good and evil, you're going to continue to get the same kind of storytelling and writing that has been a problem for the past, I'd say, decade and a half, where everything has to be morally gray and all everybody has to be super flawed, and women just have to be perfect girl bosses while the men are looked down upon and constantly humiliated. We have to expose people to better storytelling. And what we are getting out of the Tolkien adaptations is going to lead people away from good storytelling. Any event, that's my rant. Okay. I know it got a little bit, going all over the place, but I saw this post. I just wanted to get it off my chest. Ian McKellen, God bless you, sir. You're a fantastic actor. Like I said, right off into the sunset. Don't reprise your role, okay? It's you're. I think he's what 86 now. I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure he's 86 years old. He's the when he played Gandalf in the Jackson trilogy, he was 23 years younger. Like, think about that for a second. It's he's not gonna bring the same energy he did originally to the role, and that's no disrespect to him, he's just older. He's just older, and we've seen it happen over and over and over again with old actors who just they're brought back to put butts in seats, but they cannot generate that same level of performance that they did during their heyday. And I wish Ian McKellen all the best. This is not anything against Ian McKellen as an actor or as a person. It's just he's old. He's really fucking old, and he's being wheeled out there to invoke nostalgia. That's all it is. Now I haven't heard anything about um Viggo Mortensen, or I think Elijah Wood might be making a return. Stop it. Stop it. If you're dead set, okay, listen. Here's some advice, Peter Jackson, if you ever see this video. If you're so dead set on making a Hunt for Gollum movie, make it one movie. Make it about 2 hours and 50 minutes long. Um, all original cast. I suppose you can keep Andy Serkis as Gollum because Andy Serkis as Gollum is just he did Gollum so well that I think that would be smart, assuming he can still do the role quite well, which I would assume he can. He's not that old. Um, and like I said, just make it 1 2 hour plus ish movie and call it a day. And don't exceed a budget of, like, I'd say $150 million. Okay. Don't go off like all of these other places. Don't go off like Rings of Power and spend 4, 5, $600 million on this film because you're not going to get a return on your investment. You damn sure ain't going to get a return on your investment if you make two of these. So just keep that in mind. And I'm happy to swallow my pride and admit if and when I'm wrong. I just don't think I'm going to be. I genuinely think this movie is going to be a dud. Um it's just I just don't understand why. There's so many different stories that have more meat to them within the appendix because this is largely where they're pulling this this story from is from the appendix mostly. There's little tidbits mentioned within Fellowship of the Ring about Gollum's escape, this and that, blah 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 blah. But there's so many other stories that you could explore that have a definitive beginning and end. Too. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. What's the hunt for Gollum's going to lead into the Jackson trilogy is what their plan is. That's the way it has to go. Okay, you're gonna have them hunt Gollum, capture Gollum. He's gonna escape. He's gonna run into the Fellowship in Moria, and thus begins Gollum's story in Fellowship of the Ring. That's what they're going to do. There's not gonna be a definitive beginning or end to this. So I'm genuinely curious to see how they're gonna go about this and making it a story. I just don't really see it panning out too well. And if you hadn't botched Helm Hammerhand, I would have said that, but you botched Helm Hammerhand in War of the Rohirrim. You have um Balin's expedition from Moria. I have always said would make an excellent adaptation, assuming they did it accurately. That's one that has enough meat to it to where you could really make something tragic, well written. It would be incredible. You could do I'm trying to think what else. You could do the Kinstrife. You could do, oh, I just had it. I just had it. Um, you could do, like, a short film. It'd be kind of fucked up, but you could do a short film about, um, Elrond's wife and her getting captured and eventually having to leave for, um, Valinor. It'd be a dark film, no question, but you could do that. You could do a myriad of different things. it's a whole plethora exists just in the appendix alone of stuff that you can do. Stories that you can put your own little flavor on while maintaining canonical accuracy greater than 30 or greater than 10% canonical accuracy. Let me be very clear here. And you wouldn't have to spend that much money on the film, and you would get a return on your investment plus interest. But Hunt for Gollum, the Go you know what? I said it in a post a while back, and I think this really holds true. Gollum is the Joker of Middle Earth now. That's what he is. That's what he is to a lot of these people who are making adaptations. He is the Joker, okay? I'm surprised that Rings of Power didn't decide to just completely I mean, they already completely screwed with the canon, but I mean, screw with it more and just arbitrarily throw Gollum in. I'm shocked they didn't do that. But, you know, they obviously Gollum was in The Hobbit, Riddles in the Dark, but you why Gollum was in the Shadow Games, Gollum was in the Gollum game, Gollum. It's can we guys, listen, Gollum, very interesting character, very tragic character. But there's so much more to Middle Earth than Gollum. Why are we so fixated on Gollum? I call him the Joker because how many adaptations of DC have come out of the DC comic books where the Joker has to be in it for some stupid ass reason? You have the Snyder Cut, you have Suicide Squad, you have uh, it's just there's so many. Stop it with Gollum. That's another thing. Stop it with Gollum. Stop it. Any event. Um, My rant is concluded. Um, like I said, at the beginning of this video, I'm gonna postpone any and all Rings of Power related content until we get a trailer for season 3. Just because, like I said, I feel like I've beaten that horse over and over and over again, and I kind of want to cover news as it goes. I also want to start doing like little Q&As. So what I'm thinking is like um I'll put out a post on X asking like what uh what questions do you have about Middle Earth, and I will answer those questions. Um just talking about lore, because the lore, the actual source material is where it's at. Forget the adaptations, all of them, including the Jackson trilogy. Yeah, sure, great movies, terrible adaptations. Forget them too. Okay? The actual meat and potatoes, the actual sustenance of Middle Earth, of Arda, of Ea, whatever you want to call it, is in Tolkien's writing. And that's where I want to drive people to, because that's quality storytelling. So I hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are, or night wherever you are across the globe. And I will be catching you guys on the next one. Take it easy.